All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast of us. This is episode 3, in which we've titled Wine and Dine. This is our breakdown of the third episode. I'm Tanner Cherry. I spent a year of my life working, building the sets and stuff here in Alberta while it was filming here. And what a journey that was. And I, just being able to talk about all this while seeing what it looks like on the other end of like a big budget and like it, bigger than Game of Thrones budget, basically. It's been wild. And I'm doing this here with my lovely co-host, Seductro. Host number one.
Hey, I'm host number one. Correct. I'm host number one. My name is Stephen Rose. I take the resident place of the Last of Us game superfan, with a little bit of fun framing carpentry background, but not on the show, just building houses. I like to be on here to be constantly corrected by the gamer nerds who watch this. I probably beat that game 1,000,000 times, and apparently I need to beat it 3,000,000 more times, or else I will be proven wrong on everything I've ever had to say. But I'm here to provide the sort of critical analysis and kind of see sort of where the show differs from the games and kind of gauge how we feel about that, and then also to get the sort of inside looks that host number 2 here likes to provide us. So where do we want to start with this episode? I got my clipboard here, but
Mr. Clipboard.
I didn't have a ton to write this episode. I mean, maybe I was crying for a lot of it. So
I was gonna say, it's hard to write when the page is like wet, holy, what a, like, in regards to the experience of sitting down and watching that episode, I felt like it was a masterpiece because I don't know if I'm biased because I'm invested so heavily in this, but like I found myself like more moved by this touching love story that was delivered on that episode than like a lot of similar style or stories or
media
movies.
in that way. Yeah.
Like it hit me so hard, and I was just like, like, what is it? It's that guy, that meme of that guy just like, standing up and clapping after the film, right?
Isn't that Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, is it like Shia LaBeouf when he's just
clapping for his own film, his own movie, his own play?
That's so true. It was just it was a monumental watch. And like I feel like from what I've seen on social media, it's been incredibly well received. And it was only until really about a half an hour ago when I spoke with a friend on the phone who's probably as invested in the video game series as you. And
I've spoken with him about it before, actually.
Yeah, but he had some words, man. And we'll get into that. We'll go through kind of where the episode started, because it starts with Joel and Ellie and it gets to the stuff later on. It's probably the biggest deviation.
I gotta say, I am looking at my clipboard right now. I forgot Joel and Ellie even started this episode.
Right.
There's actually some stuff to break down in that part, but I obviously, taken aback by just like some captivating performances and whatnot. I had just sort of forgotten the intro, that whole section there. So obviously we had no pre-roll credit scene type thing. So that was historically, that's how we've done it so far. Was there, back at Outbreak Day or whatever, there was some frame of whatever you got basically. But in this, we sort of got that differently. So it opens with Joel and Ellie, with the video game reference. I'll call that one out as I see it. The arcade machine, I believe.
The arcade machine.
She runs up to a Mortal Kombat machine.
Oh,
so this is when they approach the stash.
Yeah, that's when they've gotten to the pack and go or whatever it is. But it opens with them at like that stream, right? And they have to have like a conversation. Right.
Yeah.
Because you can tell.
Right. Oh, sorry. Hold on. My clip was over top of one thing. It says at the top here, literally, it says, "Fedra sucks." So please note, I don't take the best notes on Earth, but I was supposed to remind me. It says Fedra sucks bracket burn pile. So that's.
Oh yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah, and then them talking about how they weren't sick, and then they're like, nope. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting that he was guarded for her at the beginning there too. Sort of. Well, he was kind of doing more sort of taking the fatherly role on sooner than I expected, but at the same time, he's his guarded self. He's just like, maybe a kid doesn't need to see this
Yeah.
450 skeletons that they're up the street.
I really liked. I mean, I liked the bluntness when Ellie she's just like, look, I'm just gonna tell you straight, like, it's not my fault. Like, stop blaming me. Like, you made this choice. And seeing Joel's reaction to the fact that it's like, this tiny kid, I assume she's like 14, right? This 14-year-old just like said something to me that is like very adult, and like you made this choice, and he was just like, not happy to hear it, but it was a matter of respect, right? And,
right.
And
yeah,
it did,
not wrong.
Yeah, and then from that moment on, he's like, I guess the very accelerated moving past the salty phase, right, into the dad role.
Yeah, which I guess that's a scene that needed to sort of happen, right?
Yeah.
She hands his coat back to him and everything too, and some cute little like moments and stuff. I completely forgot about the opening here.
That's how much of a freight train that whole like story was just like you forgot there was other parts of the story in the episode.
100%. And there was some cool stuff. So yeah, so then they come past the burn pile, and of course that just cements Fedra as being an incompetent government acting body, or at least they didn't take the proper precautions. That I think there's a little bit of maybe a COVID cheap shot.
Oh, there was
too.
Yeah, that
if
one.
You didn't hear that,
yeah. Like what is?
Do you remember
it's
the
as
line
if,
was?
I can't remember. It was something along the lines of like, wow, it's amazing that a government can like botch a pandemic or handling a pandemic this bad or something.
Yeah,
there's
exactly,
like
right?
a small pause.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, wait a minute.
I thought that was a clean, just jab to the ribs, because like,
I think it's a fair shot, but it's for sure they hit the kidney with that one.
Yep. Yeah, but it's the government kidney. We can curb stomp the government kidney.
We all punch the government kidney. Let's be honest. So then they go past that and they come up to the stash house or whatever. That was a gas station, I believe, right?
Yeah, something actually like the set was called the Pack and Go or the Store and Go, the one that when we were making it, and it was interesting because I didn't work on the location one, the version of that, but I worked on the one that's like the interior.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy. Like, for instance, I don't know, maybe I can find one of the photos here of creating the floor for that set, because we had to build the entire set on 2x12s, like a 2x12 floor.
Oh,
I know I've got a photo of the floor here somewhere. Where is it?
All right.
Man, I just had this like pulled up and now it's eluding me.
This is brought to you by our sponsors at floorfinder.com. And you find yourself looking for pictures of floors you built, but you just built too many damn floors?
Yeah, well, yeah, I took like 430 photos or something, so for some reason... There it is.
But there you go. Here we go.
Okay.
Using Floor Finder, of course.
Yeah,
don't go
Floor
to that
Finder.
website. That's not a real website. That's probably malware. Don't type that.
So this was like the floor for that whole Pack and Go set. And we had to insulate in between all of the 2x12s, right? Because I guess when you do it like this, the whole reason that we had to build a 2x12 floor was literally just so that he could reach into the floor. Like the entire,
and he moves the
the entire set has to be lifted because at one part of the set. And also actually in one of the rooms is where Ellie walks into and looks down to go through the floor into the basement, which I thought was an interesting scene. It was like...
Yes.
Like I remember here I'll switch back because that was one of the first sets that really, like, the basement there, that was just like, oh my god, this is so beautiful, like when it was all dressed up here. For people listening on audio, you should really check out the YouTube episodes, because this is where all the pictures are.
Yeah, videos you get, the video you're getting the proper feed here. If you just like our voices, that's fine. If you fall asleep to us, that's cool too. But you're really missing out.
Like the bricks, the walls, right? The brick walls here, it's like each and every brick is a styrofoam brick, and then they place them in sequence and use Hilti foam to like glue and melt them together, and they just create that piece by piece. And then of course, shout out again to the scenic painters who come in and make it look better than real. even the ceiling joists.
That's the spot. That's the spot.
Yeah.
This is where the wall had collapsed in on the stalker there.
Right, and that little hole that is through the bottom there. That was, I remember thinking to myself, because they said something about how like, oh, this is the hole that Ellie climbs through or something, and I was like, that looks pretty tight. And after seeing the episode, it made a lot more sense, because it's like, oh yeah, it's just a hole meant for someone to kind of get put into and then piled up some rubble onto.
Oh my gosh, that is really cool, actually.
Yeah, but
I like that scene a lot too.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
I was so mad though while I was watching this. I'm like, what are you, dumb? And I get it, I guess. Well, no, that's not a good excuse, because Ellie is broken into places where there has been danger, and has also now dealt with clickers, and is also like, I would not be leaving like Captain Old Man Strength behind at any point ever if I didn't have a weapon, or you got your little knife, sure, but after seeing like a clicker and realizing you don't know what you're doing whatsoever and barely surviving that, I don't think I'd be secretly opening any basements or anything like that. You know what I mean?
True.
I was watching that, I'm like, no, like yelling at the screen. Me and my partner were both just like, you're doomed. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's kind of like that stupid film thing, or that stupid movie thing that people do, where it's just like, what are you doing? Why are you going into the dark room alone in the zombie like infested world?
Screaming over there, and there's a werewolf I saw earlier. I better go check it out.
Yeah. So basically, she walks up because she obviously sees that this thing is like immobilized, right? It's like arms are not free. It's been caved in on. And for some reason, like, dark moment where she's just like, I'ma cut him.
I think, okay, so I want to comment on that, because I also like tried to get into the psychology of the character at that moment. Just knowing Ellie as I do from the games, and obviously the sequels as well, right? They sort of elaborate on her character a lot. I think that why she did that, when she makes that like initial cut, right? Like at first it's just like what would you even call that? It's like a train wreck. Like you can't look away. Like you want to like you don't really get to look at these things up close ever. Yeah. So this is her opportunity to kind of do that. And then she takes this, like, she makes an incision on its like face. Yeah, basically, right, which is really which is really the main part of it that's exposed and not flailing around or whatever. It's immobilized otherwise, but like that's what's exposed to her. I think she wanted to see what it looks like under the skin, because this is the same thing she's carrying around but surviving with.
Interesting
right?
perspective. Interesting.
So she's like, because she hasn't maybe seen the inside of one of these things before, and doesn't like, is just wondering like, what that, like, do I look like this inside? You know what I mean? Like, is that, I've been bit twice now. Like, that's what I kind of thought maybe she was doing, because it was like dark, but at the same time, I think it was just that like childlike curiosity and lack of being informed. She hasn't smashed as many of these things heads in as this Joel has, so she doesn't know a lot about them, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was sort of unnerving watching like somebody's head get cut into, and like the eyes just like staring straight back into the eyes, like no reaction whatsoever to being cut into. And like that was just like a little unsettling. And then they follow it up with a little compassion, right? Just like,
well, at that point you're yelling at the TV. You're like, come on, have a soul. But put it down.
Yeah, she takes the knife and she finishes the job. And like, I remember thinking to myself right after that, I was like, man, I'm curious what Ellie had been through in her life up to that point in regards to, has she ever put a knife into something? Like it looked very, very either like curious to try it for the first time, or like very comfortable with the motion. And I remember just being like, I wonder which one that is.
In the cinematic universe, I can't tell you because I don't know, but in the game universe, what we know of from Left Behind, which is the DLC that they added, which explains her backstory, there's an infected experience that obviously that predates all this, and is where she got her original bite from. So they may elaborate on that more, but I suspect that it was like maybe a bit of like malice, because as gamers may know, she had a friend that was there with her in the place in the games. So there, one of them definitely made it out, and so there may have been a little bit of curiosity and then a little bit of like actual like anger, because it didn't necessarily seem like putting you out of your misery type. It was just like a fuck you kind of stab. That's what I felt like anyways.
Well, it's a good thing we're 16 minutes into the episode for the first F-bomb.
Damn it. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
No, it's great.
That's actually a new record, to be honest.
So that set in particular, that little basement set, absolutely epic. Like, it's kind of cool because the room in the pack and go, I guess this is that room that she goes into here. This is like before the hole was cut in the floor. She kind of goes in and finds, what's funny is like the way that we laid all these tiles, they're just like, what are they made of? It's like an arborite or whatever. And we went in and like, we had to like pull tiles up in certain spots and like smash them and chip them and make them look super distressed. And then it's funny because when they come in and like add the dirt and all the muck and grunge, like it almost, you can hardly tell anyway. And it's just amazing how little of that translates into the show, like on screen at all. It was the same in Firefly headquarters when in the room, the door that they come through just before the room where Ellie's being held. That was one of the first rooms that I worked on, and like having to do all this work, like to make the tile look busted and broken and to make the cabinet doors, look distressed and this and that. And then all you can see is just the little door open and there's like a person. And that's like the only time that whole side gets shot or shown on at all.
Yeah, but I mean, the floor looked really good though. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, thank you.
I wrote that down.
Yeah, right.
I would also like to say that the cordyceps origin was basically confirmed. By Joel as well.
Oh yeah.
When asked, we glossed over that. He even makes a jab there. He even mentions specifically pancake mix as one of the things. He's just saying, bread, this, that. Everybody ate the contaminated food, and so they basically confirmed everyone's kind of theories on it. So I mean, at this point, like they're slam dunking it on us. We figured it out. Episode 2, we if you had missed any of the subtle gives, you basically knew by episode 2. But now we know for sure. In case you're, I don't know, maybe getting it translated or something.
You know what?
I missed the subtlety.
I won't be able to share any of these photos until for sure the series is all done, and I know the set didn't make it in. But like, there was a set at the end of the production when we were like redoing like the new stuff for episode 1. Like the amendments and stuff, there was one of the things, because by the time this was like at the end of the production, and by that time I'd kind of like, I was like on, I was on the bench next to the head, like the coordinator, right? And I was getting to build some of the really cool stuff. I was basically just passing blueprints over to me and being like, I know you can handle this, just go nuts. And I got to do with the help of some other people, this newsroom, this like news desk. And it said episode 1, and I'm pretty sure, like I'll talk about it when I'm for sure that it doesn't show up, but like I'm pretty sure it was just shot and never used, because it was like
you built a whole set that was just never used.
Yeah, and it was one that like once I know for sure it hasn't been used, so that it's not like a spoiler type thing. Not that it's an important spoiler; it's just like a newsroom. But I'm pretty sure instead of showing the TV and showing like the newscasters and showing the newsroom, they just were playing the audio in the side of the shot while people were doing whatever. So that was kind of like heartbreaking, because that was the one thing that I was like, dude, episode 1, I'm going to get to see that, like that crazy newsroom I got to build.
I was going to ask, how does that feel? How does that feel to make something that,
I don't know. How does that feel? Like it's kind of,
if I built a house and then nobody ever lived in it, I think I would be upset.
At least, I mean, I took a bunch of pictures, so I've got it for my resume and whatnot. So I did like how in place of a flashback at the beginning of the episode, there was just a moment of the two main characters walking down a dirt road and like asking questions and sneakily throwing in, information about the past. In like, that was this episode's way of tackling a little bit of the backstory, which I liked.
Yeah. I have a friend who hasn't played any of the games and really hasn't seen anything about them, and was messaging me and stuff and asking how much of this is in the game. And honestly, at first I was like, I haven't seen it yet. Also, watch the podcast. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Right. But really, when I saw this episode, I was like, they would have a really hard time translating a lot of what went into this episode into a game, I would imagine. How long was this episode? Like it felt like it was a whole movie.
I think it was an hour and a half. I think it was an hour and 23 minutes, if I remember correctly. Which is funny because I saw notes that Craig and Neil cut it down from 2 hours.
So that would have been just like an entire movie.
Yeah.
This would have been Brokeback Bill. This would have been. You could have made this. I saw someone saying you could release this as like a standalone episode, or a movie or something, or short film by itself, and that would be good enough. I was like, well, there's lots of praise being sung for it. But I guess so. Then that brings us to what you were saying. We do get, I guess, a little bit of a flashback of the day of destruction or whatever the heck, right? There obviously Bill lives outside of the cities, so they weren't getting bombed or anything. But you get to see. It's funny because I've been watching this show where it's called Doomsday Preppers, and it's funny to watch them sometimes. Yeah, so you're familiar, I imagine. Yeah, so you get a lot of these guys who are like pretty goofy, and they're buying missile silos and they're decking them out to have flamethrowers that shoot around the corner, and it's like there's got to be 150,000 different ways that you could come up with a better, deterrent than just a standing flamethrower. But it'll harken back later in the episode. We'll talk about that. But yeah, you get Doomsday Prepper Bill, sitting there with the security cameras or whatever, and the so-called paranoid schizophrenic or whatever the heck he was called there. I loved that introduction to Bill because as we know him in the games, he shows up as already just a super jaded, like kind of just spiteful, angry man. And I will admit, the one thing that I do, I guess I was a little saddened by or let down by is that his interactions, Bill, the character, with Ellie in the game it's very entertaining because you have someone who's very like retentive and really likes to keep all of his stuff in pristine condition, or everything. Oh
yeah, and he is so
a place
chapped.
For everything. Yeah, a place for everything, and he makes sure everything's kept nice or whatever. And Ellie just can't get over everything he owns. Basically, he's touching everything, and actually at the end of the episode, not to jump, but she does touch one of his antique clock and breaks it immediately, which is kind of like it made me laugh because I was thinking, like, that's exactly what she would have did had he's still been around or whatever. So
yeah, that's I guess a large deviation is that Ellie and Bill never get to cross paths at all.
Yeah, and they had a lot of really good banter in the game, so I was kind of sad. About that, but yeah. So then, I guess you have the Fedra soldiers roll through or whatever on probably their final death walk. That could have been the pile of bodies, probably, is those trucks, right? That's kind of what it seems to allude to. The people in town who are all getting loaded up or whatever. And I think
for sure it is.
You jackboot fucks.
Yeah, because there's a woman and child that's in that shot that he's looking at through the cameras or whatever. But then in the burn pile, you see a woman. I think an adult and child, or at least was that in the episode?
I didn't study the burn pile. I got to be honest. But
jeez, am I think was that in the game? Was there a shot of a burn pile with a skeleton with a, or am I thinking about some sort of thing that I saw during the production? Like, was that cut?
I feel like when I looked at the burn pile, there was all types of skeletons. It didn't seem like there was specifically a baby or anything, or child. Jeez,
maybe
like that,
maybe it was
sure
a photo that I saw one of my colleagues take of that particular set, because there was like I think they had laid out like the skeleton of like a mother and an infant skeleton, and I think like I do remember seeing that, and then I remember in the episode like bracing for that and not seeing it, and then they show the mother and child in that next shot.
And I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I think they might have taken just maybe getting some feedback on how many kids they're killing.
It's like that Justin Roiland game where the High on Life or whatever the heck. There's a kid you can He's like, shoot me, try and shoot me, just try and shoot me, just try. And you just shoot him in the face. And he's like, wow, you killed a kid. They don't normally let you do that in games. It's
Wow.
So that's one of the best parts of that game. It took me 1 second to shoot that kid. I was like, really? Wow.
Wow, you did that quick.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So then we get to like kind of the expansion of Bill's character. He's kind of looks like he's living life to the fullest. I'm not gonna lie, man. When I was watching him just like raid that hardware store and stuff, man, he looked like he was living. You know what I mean? Could you imagine? You just get to go to the Home Depot and just steal whatever you want. Oh my God.
Dude,
I would have a heyday.
Do you ever see is it called The Last Man on Earth with Will Forte?
Yes, that's a fantastic
those
show,
first couple episodes, him just doing whatever the hell he wants. Like it's a vibe. It's such a vibe.
It's such a contrast too from like what you'd see in the QZ and what you've seen from Joel and Ellie, and then you have a guy out here. It really actually it's funny because it glorifies preppers in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah,
you know, this is like
justifies
is like. Yeah, if you were a doomsday prepper and all your friends are making fun of you, this is like the episode of TV you show them just to make them feel bad, you know? Because at the end of the day, this guy's life was, in fact, better than yours. And you're eating cricket bars or whatever the hell you could find, or, you know, beef jerky that's 300 years old, but...
Yeah. So he, like... I love that scene when he's in the little basement there. I got to work on that bunker a lot. And actually, the bunker...
Yeah,
like his bunker where all the guns were and everything. I'll bring up this photo. This is like the reference photo that we were working off of, where I was like, oh my God, there's going to be so many cool guns and everything, right? And the little staircase that goes up was really, really cool because the special effects team came in to make that, because it was all like built into we had to make a section of floor that worked on like a weird rocking system, and then they did the whole ladder and like all of that stuff, and then built a ladder into the base of the it's like a clothing chest or whatever, like a, what do you call it? It's like a tickle trunk, and it's on the floor, but it's like
wait, is that a real name?
A tickle trunk? Isn't that like a thing where you fill with all sorts of weird clothes?
Maybe today I learned. Okay. Go on. Sorry, tell me all about your tickle trunk.
Yeah, I'll tell you about my tickle trunk. I'm gonna see here. I got a picture of what they did here. So it has like.
So what was the purpose of having it be mobile or like you said, tiltable or whatever?
So yeah, you can see at the back here. There's these like barbell weights on the bar, and then it's on like a pivot which is up inside the floor there, and then these little plates are what it rests on when it comes down. But it's so that, we'll go back to that. Sorry, I keep doing the wrong way. I got pictures of, I guess I didn't get a picture of the actual, like, I just have a cheeky picture of us here in, like, the room that it goes into before it got all distressed and everything. So it was like the trunk, right? Like a clothing trunk. And it's on the floor. Yeah. And you can see, like, when he comes up, it, like, leans up off the floor and reveals the hole into his bunker. It's like the secret entrance, right?
Right. Yes.
And I remember just being like so impressed with like what special effects did to make that like functional, because we built the bunker and then we built that basement right on top of it, and then on top of that, it was a 3-story set. On top of that, we had to build the staircase that went from the basement up to the main floor of Bill's house. So it was like the staircase that went up to the door, and then the door was obviously just closed. There was nothing above that, but it was like a 3-story set, and which actually I do have a picture of here. You can kind of see like the bunker's down here, and then this is the basement set, and then this was just like the stairwell that goes up to the door, and then this is that basement of the pack and go where that's the hole that that infected person was stuck in.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Step infected. Help.
Step infected. Oh man. All right. Yeah. Didn't think of it that way, but yeah. So like, it's cool. Like this set here as well. Like this black shroud that's around the top is because we also had to build that room again from the pack and go that Ellie climbs down through on top of the basement, because she does physically climb down through. So it's weird. Like
So
a
that's
lot of times,
separate room. No, it's not even the same. Not even the same set / building.
exactly. The pack and go is just actually over to the other side of this, so they're all like adjacent to each other. But sometimes you have to build the same room over and over and over, depending on how it connects to the other set, so that there's like a staging piece to move from one to the other. So there's a lot of building things twice, 3 times. And yeah.
Is that maddening?
It's, I don't know, I guess it's not maddening. It's kind of fun because like at a certain point, like you run to the one and you have to like take a bunch of pictures on your phone to make sure that like when you run back to the other, you make the same treatments to them. And mostly like if you watch through the episode, you notice that like it's so in the background and blurry that like you can get away with some mistakes here and there.
Not that you know that. Not that you knew that, though. You know, you probably got your anxiety. Oh, man, I didn't crack this one quite as hard as I did that one.
Oh, my God, did you see that tile?
Running back and forth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the people recording. What tile? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I like how Joel actually like stashed the M4. He's just like, it's not ammo.
Yeah, there's not a lot of ammo for something like this out here. I love that. Because that's... I'm like, you shouldn't even have that by now.
Right, because I was hoping it wasn't just going to be like an extension of his right arm for the rest of the series, you know?
It kind of felt like it was going to be, too. Yeah. I felt like you've been lugging that thing around for a little too long for whatever reason.
Well, realistically,
so, cool.
He probably used
But
the
now
last...
look what he's got, though.
Yeah, what did he get? Oh, yeah, sorry,
everything
from Bill.
But he's the freaking locker down there, dude. That's...
I'm hoping that he went down and had his way with whatever Bill had on the wall there.
Yeah, I don't know if he... would you think Bill would have told him about that?
Yeah, he did. He mentioned, because in that episode or in the note, he said that the code to my bunker is the gate code reversed. Take anything you need. Right. And if he were to, I'm sure he would have gone down there and seen there was a small military's worth of firearms.
No kidding.
And I mean, it's like the only person that you would bump into that you know would have ammunition storage out and a truck to carry it in. So yeah, I'm hoping that.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come
if he shows up next episode without like a big ass gun or like at least a handgun or something, I don't even know what I'll think. I want like an extendo mag. I want him to have like an ACOG scope on a 9mm for no reason. You know, exactly. I want him leaving like a Call of Duty character for now. Because I mean, it would just be silly if not. Imagine if that happened in the game. You'd be like, well, the whole infection's over now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go right and just take them all on right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be right back. You sit here.
So yeah, then I guess we get into the main meat of the story, which distracted from everything else, obviously, which is like
big time.
The extended deep dive into giving everybody like more information about who Frank was, which actually I want to reference this phone call that I had with Steven Swiggle before this, because he was pissed, and I was really surprised. I was like, wait, you're pissed? Like, I thought it was a pretty well-received episode and everything. And he was like, he's pretty hardcore in regards to, like, wanting it to be perfectly exactly like the game. And, I mean, a lot of people that are very invested in the game, I completely understand. And, like, there was a lot of things that they changed about their relationship. And actually, one of the things... So, like, the episode's incredible. Like, it's a beautiful love story. It's super moving. It's touching. It's powerful. But Steven, when he called me, he was like, he reminded me, he was just like, does nobody remember what the note said when they find Frank? Yeah. Like,
I read a comment today in a Facebook group. This is, again, I use Facebook. I'm sorry, Zoomers who listen to this. if you even exist. I use Facebook. I'm sorry. And a comment that just said, there's so many people that are just mad. Oh, it's pushing agenda, this and that. And I remember one guy said, and I was obviously arguing against that because I'm like, no, it's not. They're fleshing a story out, right? Like in a different way which would be more impactful for cinema and TV. You know, they were trying to find a kind of a middle ground, if you will, with that. Because as we said earlier, you couldn't play what you watched in a game per se without it just having been like a walking simulator, you know, just there's too much going on there. So, you know, it's very subtle references in the game or whatever, but like you said, there's a pretty big deviation in their relationship in which the context in which Frank passes away. Actually, Frank fucking hates Bill.
Yeah,
Frank hates Bill. Yeah. And to be honest, everyone hates Bill.
Yeah.
Joel hates Bill. Like He's an asshole. Like from the get-go, he's just like super dickish. He's armed all the time. He's pointing his gun. Like, he saves you spitefully in the game, and is like mad he had to do that. He's like, you messed with my traps. You unrigged some of my traps.
He owed Joel a favor in the game, right?
Yeah.
And what was that for?
I don't think they really. I don't think they really clarified that. I don't think it could have been for anything. He's a smuggler, so that's your cop-out answer, basically.
Yeah,
he smuggled something. But I do like how they fleshed out the relationship as well, though, with Tess and Joel as well, as we're smugglers and this and that, because that actually gave a little more background and color to the character of Tess and Joel and their relationship, which was in the game really touch and go and kind of like. You never really knew, like, are they a thing? Are they just like a dynamic duo? Like, obviously they probably are, right? But you can't really just assume that. They never embrace each other or anything, right? So in this, you kind of got the sense that they're like, okay, they're like a couple pretty much. Because, when he says, if mine tried to do blah, 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 I'd be reacting the same way or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
I loved how like Frank and Tess are just like chatty and like very like animated and like they're both slugging back the wine, and Joel and Bill are both just like glaring at each other across the table.
Yeah,
like,
I get it. Yeah. I get it. Get that gun out of my fucking face.
Yeah, I loved it all. I loved the episode.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I never really thought too hard because I was aware of, I had forgotten the context of the fact that when you find Frank in the game, Frank was basically left him a note and was just like, fuck you, I hated you, like never liked you anyway. You never wanted to come out this far, you were a pussy. And like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never met me in the middle or whatever the heck, and like the last few years have been the worst years of my life. It is like quite literally the opposite of, of what they ended with. But I genuinely feel like this leaves more of an impact than what happens in the game, because you don't really know Frank ever. He's dead when you get there. You're looking for him, but you find him and and so you get to know Bill as just kind of this sour old bastard or whatever, and he's a fine character, and then you leave and he's still alive, and that's that's it, right? He's a doomsday prepper. He's over prepped, but you do also get the sense when you're playing the game that this guy won't live forever in this fashion. You know what I mean? That he's not gonna survive forever. He's built this walled garden that he's convinced himself is like the safest place to be and whatnot. But you do get the sense that eventually he'll be overwhelmed by raiders or whatever. You leave and you kind of just assume that Bill won't be making a return, or you'll never hear from him again, kind of thing, right? Like he won't make it or whatever, or has to move or something, right? Because there are infected all over in the game, all over his town or whatever. He does have his millions of traps set up that you have to try not to walk into. Shout out to anyone who walked straight into an explosive tripwire in the game. Big ups to being blind. I did that the first time. But I think that these deviations were necessary, like for television, and I genuinely believe that, some of these, like the cordyceps changes and stuff, fundamentally, I do question, do I like this? Do I not like this? Right? Like, I'm still up in the air about that. And I think that kind of, like our last episode, we sort of talked about
right
a lot of those changes and how we feel about them. But this one, I just felt like that was, this was just carried by really good acting. A really well-told story. I was actually shocked for how long it went on for, right?
Yeah.
When it would just do the 4 years later, and then it just kept doing these timepieces, and I kept thinking, okay, so when is the thing gonna happen? And they deke you out 2 times.
Oh my god, when they like the Bill gets in the shootout, and he takes one to the gut.
The first one. The first one is where they're fighting after they make love or whatever the heck, and then it goes 4 years later. Frank runs out of the house. He's like, get out of this shit, blah blah blah, and you're like, okay, so this is we're the new relationship energy is wearing off here. Now we can see where they're really gonna end up, right? And it's, so as the gamer, you're like, okay, this is where he starts to hate him or whatever, and he's like, I just want to paint the house and the block and fix up a couple stores and whatever the heck. And Bill's like, that's stupid. And he's like, it's not to me. And then you're like, oh, okay, so this is the Bill we know, or this is the sour guy. This is why Frank couldn't handle living with him. But then Bill's like, okay, all right. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Fairly agreeable of you, Bill. It seems pretty reasonable. But that, that's a deviation. But I liked that. It was actually like really sweet to see this hardened, guy. Or what did he get called? Paranoid schizophrenic by Frank.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not schizophrenic.
That's so funny when they're at the dinner party and or lunch party, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, Joel and Tess are there. Oh, don't worry, he's like that too. Tess says, he's a paranoid schizophrenic as well. That line like gut busted me.
Yeah, it was great. And then later on when they get into a situation where, I really actually loved that scene because like Frank just wakes up and shit's going down, and it was a very, very believable moment of like how terrifying that would be to because you spend so many years thinking that you've got yourself under control and you're in that situation, and Joel warned that eventually people are going to try coming to because they know that you have
That's things. When he stacked all the cars. He says, Joel says people are going to be coming. You see it next time he's got like 17 cars piled up on each other to block the gates.
Probably got a forklift and like enough cans of like propane or whatever to run it. So like,
oh, for sure. He probably found a crane chilling by the Home Depot for some reason. He's got that. Woo! Man. But he stole the generator from the power plant, man.
Yeah. Actually, dude.
That's a resourceful guy.
Before we get too far, because I have a story about that gas plant. Holy. So we spent a while building this little, I don't know what you would call it, like a guard checkpoint shack, like a toll booth thing. Like if you drive up to a toll booth thing and there's like a little shack for the person to sit in.
The little lever thing that lifts.
Yeah, so this was this little building that we built, and we built the curb that it sits on. It's funny because you can see on the one side here by where my mouse is that it's sitting up off the ground. We built this whole curb. Let me just go back.
Is that made out of wood? What the hell is that?
The curb is built out of plywood, and the corners here. The corners here are styrofoam. They're carved styrofoam. And they're all just literally, they just mix up like concrete without the aggregate, like just concrete, the powder that you buy in like the bags. Yeah. And they just use like a pressurized sprayer and spray it with concrete so that it has concrete on it. So it looks like concrete. And it looks legit. Like it looks like this was 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And then all of the little foam, and then
what was the plant? Then what was the plant that he drove towards? Was that in the background? Was that CGI'd in, or was that
that's an actual gas plant that we it was south. I think it was south of Calgary by about an hour and a quarter or something. It was this gas plant, and it was just one of the locations, right? So like this, I think the chain link fence and all of this shrubbery stuff is added. They made it look like it was like barred off, and then of course these are the little like yellow, the things that he drives through, and the funny thing was like we put a lot of work into this little shack, right? We made it look like really legit and super real, and we never really got communicated that it was supposed to be like just build it quick, like and simple, and what we basically got it to the point where it was like looking really nice. And Dino, like our construction, like the coordinator, he came by and he was just like, "What are you guys doing? Like, why does this look so nice?" And he's like, "It's like props. Like, you guys did an epic job on this." But he's like, "It's literally just like gonna be blurred through the window beside the truck as it rips through the gate." So again, like one of those things we spent some time on, and then
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, just to literally have him like take a look at the plant, the thing, and then just through the gate.
Yep. Well, and
that was when he was living his best life. Yeah.
The funny thing is like this curb, right? We built it in here on like a concrete floor, and I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, this looks like it's a concrete curb. And when we got sent to go install it, I suspected that we would be putting it in a parking lot because it's like a concrete curb, right? And we get there and it's just like it's friggin' dirt, and we were like, wait, we're supposed to put this on a slant? So we ended up having to. Like stilt it up on the backside with 2x4s to just make it level. And they were like, don't worry, they'll just push some dirt against it or something. No one will see it. And it's like, yeah, every time we were like, yo, this isn't going to look right. Like, what about, they were like, dude, just get it done.
You guys are OCD in the shack so hard there. Dude, that's so funny. Looking at it from behind, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wonder if they even did put any dirt on it, or if they just moved the camera to an angle you didn't see it.
I'd have to
want to rewatch that.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again. That was one of those moments, like, was watching with Callie and our friend Alex Bear, and just that one scene where you're like, vroom, and like rips through the gate, and of course I like jump up and I'm like, oh my god, and then I gotta like shut up because I'm like, yeah, I'll save it. I'll save it for the podcast because it's amazing how like that was probably a quarter second of screen time for something that we spent like 5 days on. So
5 days on that. Oh my god.
Yeah, like 4 of us.
Oh my god.
It's
wow.
hilarious. So yeah, sorry, that was just to dial back to that. But then, what were
we? I would like to poke a hole into one thing. So Frank wakes up and he's hearing raiders, sounds of raiders, and I would also like to shout out doomsday preppers and fucking flamethrowers. What is going on with you guys? Just admit it. You want to set a guy on fire. That's like
I don't think you have to pry to get that out of them.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. It's just like you don't want to be like if pre any infection or whatever. You've been dreaming your whole life of melting a dude, and this is just your outlet. You finally have it. This is your like masterpiece here. So
hey man, why do you think some people become cops?
Oh god. I don't know if we got time to dig into that, but high school bullies.
Yeah.
No, but I want to say Bill's defensive positioning was the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, have you ever played a video game, Bill? Have you ever been in a tactical shootout?
Oh.
What are you're standing in the middle of an open road surrounded by 4 transparent fences that anyone can aim guns through. You're gonna get shot.
Confirmed multiple people approaching. That was
from every angle. What on earth are you doing? Get behind one of the cement things you have out there. Like,
I also have a question.
Yeah.
The shot before, basically during the outbreak of his bunker,
him clearing
the wall of guns that he has is like impressive. Why is that man out in the middle of that road with a bolt action rifle? Like, what? I guess it had a little scope on it or something, right? Maybe am I remembering that wrong?
Sure, man. You got like a grenade launcher. I'm pretty sure over there. So
I was surprised that he wasn't using the Steyr AUG or something. Like
dude, anything. Yeah, honestly, a P90. Get out there and just.
Yep.
They're all done,
I definitely saw an AUG on the wall there, so I was like, in that moment, I was just like, he seems a little underarmed for what he's packing in the basement. But
didn't Frank grab like a handgun too?
He did. He grabbed that handgun out of the little drawer there, which I think is the one that Ellie takes later on.
Yes, which will play a part for sure.
Yeah.
I think
that was one thing. I'll talk about Steven Squiggle again here. The phone call that we had beforehand. He was pissed because he's like, it's so important later on the interaction that Joel and Ellie have when he trusts her with a gun, and he was like,
they can still make this that important. I think it's going to be like they did in the game, where she's got to use it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a reprehensible moment for her or something, or
maybe they're just adding
change of character.
That revision where maybe she's going to come out of the side hatch and save him, and then he's going to be like, okay, maybe I'll give you a gun.
Well, yeah, where the hell did you get that?
Yeah.
You're welcome. That's probably what'll happen, right? And then she'll be like, I can't believe I did that. Oh my god. That's because that's kind of what happens in the game. So I think these are like deviations that aren't going to stray too heavily from the storytelling. I honestly thought of the name of the show while I was watching The Last of Us, and it really like the way they could tell these stories is they kind of could, there's other characters you run into later, like Sam comes to mind and whatnot, and they can kind of do a big, like decent episodes, like little like mini films almost on these characters.
Yeah.
And then their interactions with Joel and Ellie or whatever. That's something that you maybe could have done in game if you had built the game that way, but obviously the game wasn't built that way, right?
Yeah.
So they're working with, and you spoke on Neil Druckmann, like saying he wanted to sort of retell some of the stories, right? And I feel like I bet a lot of what he was thinking was wanting to flesh out some of these characters that you only get to see the war-torn and ravished versions of them because it follows like a linear timeline, right?
Right. For instance, yeah, like I'm pretty sure I saw Neil had mentioned that, like, in the process of watching the game be remastered over and over and stuff, it was just like a sticking point of just like always felt like Frank never got any part of the story, and he should have. And that was one thing.
Yeah, he's not really a character.
Yeah. So
right?
in this pass through, they were like, we're going to make him more important. We're going to make him more important to Bill's story, not just the story, but more important to Bill's story.
Which makes Bill like a more important character, even though their interactions are actually more. Well, they're limited to literally a flashback scene, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the note, which is, we'll get to, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, funny, I really liked, and I know that this is referenced in the game as well. In Bill, I believe, says how important it was for like the fact that Frank was the one person that he could save. Like the agency that he had to really save, or that he had to save somebody, and they really nailed that home in this one. How important it was to just the fact that save who you can save. And
that's what they said at the end of last episode or whatever was save who you can save. Right. And I think they're really going to hammer that in, and I think that's going to make for an interesting way for this show to go, so to speak. Obviously,
it gave Bill's entire life like a purpose that was very, very noble and very compassionate. It made him a lot less crotchety. He was crotchety, but like it made him more. It humanized him so much more, rather than just being like comedic relief.
100%. Yeah, I didn't even expect him to let that guy out of the hole, to be honest. I thought he'd keep him in there for a few days or something first. Like the Bill that I know from the game, for sure, that guy would have been hanging out in there for at least a while, and then he'd be.
That's what I said when we were watching it. I was like, oh my God, like you're going to let him out right away? Like give him 4 or 5 hours, but to make sure he's not going to turn, right? But he probably already had by the time he came over to talk to him.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. That makes sense.
There's one more thing that I want to speak to about, like, Bill walking out and getting shot in the middle of the road, like just very bad tactical posture, and then going back into the house and like lying on the table. And for people that only know the show, they probably didn't realize how like jarring that scene was about to be for people that know the game. But the fact that they sort of like did a fake. Like
my partner was like almost crying at that scene, and she doesn't cry at anything ever.
Aww.
Like I've seen it 2 times.
Yeah, it's like 5 times
4 years I've known her.
They leave you on the doorstep of just like, oh my God, like I can't see because I'm crying so much. But
I was just like, oh man, no, not Bill, no man, no. I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Look who.
Yeah, but the fake.
I was ready for that to be a total deviation, but yeah, it was a fake out. And then for those who probably haven't played the game, that gave you a false sense of security. Also, even just their interactions at first, you're like, oh, is Frank whack? Is Frank going to be like some wacko murderer or something who like managed to trick his way into Bill's life or whatever? And there's lots of for people who hadn't played the game and known that they develop a relationship in the way that they do, then you're kind of like on the edge of at that point too. You're sort of feeling like Nick Offerman's performance too, of like he opens the door like a madman. There's that one scene. Sorry, we're jumping around a lot today. There's just like a lot to digest with this one, but the one scene where he's got the food ready or whatever, and he just bang like opens the door. And he's got the 2 plates of food, and there's this crazy look in his eyes. I remember I had to rewind that like 4 times. I'm like, who enters a room like that?
Yeah,
like,
why?
Relax. Holy shit. I'm like, that's a man who hasn't seen anyone for 4 years.
Yeah. So, well, the fake that I was referring to is when Bill gets shot, and then he basically gets put on the table there, and he passes out from blood loss. And in that scene, like both Callie and I are sitting there, and we're just like, did they just reverse Uno card everybody? Is it Frank that survives Bill? Right? And we were like, wait, what? And then I was they just do the 3 years later, and then, Bill's pushing Frank in the wheelchair, and I was just, or 10 years later it said, I think it said 10 years later, right at that point. Yeah. It does like a big jump. But I remember just being like, oh my God, are they doing the reverse? Are they, like, is this how they're honoring Frank, or they're just going to whack Bill and let Frank be the one that they meet? But
100%, that's what you'd think, right? Watching it. So you're, and then it literally like cut. I mean, it fades out when a character his eyes go closed and he freezes and stops moving, and he's like, "Oh no, just tell me more about the plan, blah blah. Just stay awake, blah blah." See, that's in a movie or any type of series or whatever the heck, you're like that. That is a dead man. That's how that works.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like in real life, like so many more people survive getting shot than they do die. Right? Getting shot hurts and it really screws you up, but like a lot of people survive that. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, but that's with doctors.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's fun fact. It's worse to be stabbed. If you didn't know that, it is a lot worse to be stabbed than it is shot.
Yeah.
So don't be either. If I'm honest, but if you have to pick, survivability rate a lot higher on bullets. So they fake you out with that, and then so your heart's a little bit broken. Then you're like, oh, hope. Whoa, I feel happy. Oh, they're both still alive. And you're like, oh, buddy's in a wheelchair. You're like, what happened? Did he get shot or what? And then you see him, he's painting.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Parkinson's or something.
I thought immediately, because I had a grandfather who had this Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS or whatever. Yeah. So that's what I thought. But either way, I don't know that the show gives you any solid answers. Only thing that he really says is just that there wasn't a cure for this before this all went down. So, right. So probably some sort of neurological illness. A lot of people were saying cancer, and I was like, that's super vague, and that could look like all kinds of stuff. And Buddy is really shaky, and that's that's a symptom of neurological illness more often than not. So maybe it could have been brain cancer.
They left it a little open-ended.
But there's no traveling MRI salesman left or whatever the heck, right? So but it doesn't really matter because it's the impact of just kind of watching him suffer, and you see all the beautiful paintings he's done. I believe one of them was of Joel, which I thought was really nice. It was really,
I didn't catch
really nice one. Yeah, he had, I think, in the backdrop. So when he was painting Bill, he was about halfway through his face or whatever, and that's when he starts. He's holding his brush in a very strange fashion too, which. Obviously he doesn't have
full motor skills,
advanced mobility of his joints anymore, right? So to the bottom right, I think there's just like a not a caricature, but just like a sort of like a portrait of Joel on there, which I at least I thought so. It was a bearded man, so it looked like Joel. So
in a house of bearded men, of course.
yeah, right. I don't know. It's like some dad guy. I don't know. I mean, it would make sense. How many people does he have to think of to paint? How many people has he seen in the last 14, 20 years or whatever the hell, right? He's probably not a whole lot. And they're only friends. Like he said, we don't have friends. Yeah. So really, it's like Joel and Tess are their friends. That's about it. So, and that's why, the ladder was literally left to Joel at the end because that's all they know. So I assumed that was a painting of Joel, right? And maybe that was a gift for him or something like that next time they saw him. Frank seems to be the thoughtful type. Based on what you're seeing. So so that was, they really kind of give you a little bit of hope because you're Bill from yelling Bill don't die to Bill, what, you come here, and you're like oh, this is nice, this is sweet, they're old now, and then you kind of sort of see how Frank has just been weathered over time, and it's actually twice as heart-wrenching as just having Bill shot dead in the street, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, they found a way to one-up it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'm already a little heartbroken, and now I'm okay again, and everything's gonna be okay, and I'm ready for the heartbreak that I expect.
Yeah,
because I've played this game. I know what's coming next, and this spoiler alert, I didn't.
Yeah.
yeah. You want to walk us through kind of what happened at that point?
This is basically him walking up and proclaiming that it's his last day, that he'd like it to be his last day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely the next most memorable scene.
Dude, yeah. Nick Offerman bursting into tears in that moment did not seem like a person that was acting. That was so powerful. Holy.
Well, I mean, because you were crying too. It helped because your eyes are all blurry. So his acting could have been shit in that moment. I wouldn't have even noticed. I was too busy crying myself.
Yeah.
No, but actually that when he woke up or whatever, you got to get back in bed and you can't be sitting in your chair this whole time, and he just says, no, it's my last day. And I remember my partner even mentioned to me oh, hey, does he mean last day, is in that sixth sense that some people have before they pass, where they know that they're I think today might be it for me or something, and then they die in their sleep. Like some old people do that. I've heard lots of stories of, nurses and people telling me stuff like that. So he was wondering if it was like an instance of that or just like I'm done with it kind of thing. And that was off the hop anyways. That was kind of the question. And I think that was answered by the show in a way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Starting recording again. The magic of computers.
Yeah, right. Pretend that never happened.
Yeah. Do you recall what you were in the middle of saying?
I don't know. I had a bunch of roommates screaming about how they don't have power. those Zoomers. I'm just doing this and that. I'm like, no one cares. I was doing a podcast. Enough of your child problems, all right? Let me get my SUV here, my Chevy, and go steal the generator from the electrical plant
yeah, right.
Out there on the Anthony Henday. So, and I was just about to do that, and then the power came back on. So, I guess I didn't have to go full bill on them or anything. But
yeah, I was just sitting here, and then like you just went "Bleh," or whatever, right? And I was like, because that first time that we went to record, I dropped out like 3 times, right? Which actually, you know what? Speaking of which, I didn't hardwire my my tower in. I'm on wireless, so apparently it works fine now. But anyway,
have you ever considered maybe your house is haunted?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. I got an EMF detector. I'll check that out. I remember one time we're taking a quick deviation here. I used the EMF detector to check if I was haunted, and I put it up against my brain because you'd think that's where all your electromagnetic stuff's going on. And it was medium haunted. And then I put it over my pelvic area, and it was super haunted.
Yeah.
I had to make sure I was like, I got that haunted dick. Like,
got that haunted dick.
So sorry. That's a real random interjection there. I'm sure I was talking about something actually important. So whatever, neurological illness and whatnot, and everybody's gay, and it's wonderful. It's a great story. But we hit a moment of sadness. That last day, I think, is kind of what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Some people just have a sense for that. And so, he tells Bill essentially what he wants him to do, what he wants his last day to look like. And yeah, Nick Offerman's performance was fantastic. So was the other guys. Like they're both fantastic. I don't actually know his name. I don't recognize him from anything. So
yeah,
shout out to you.
I think it was my first impression of that actor as well, and both of them knocked this episode out of the park.
I'm also pretty sure Nick Offerman is a heterosexual man, so I believe that would be it's quite a commitment. It really shows his prowess as an actor. I mean, if he's not, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys will get me on that every time I'm wrong. I've heard about it, so that's fun. We love that.
As we said in the first episode or whatever, Steven loves hate mail.
Yeah,
he loves all the attention you give him.
Correct me all you want, please. Any comments is good comments, right? And as long as you're not a crypto bot.
Yeah. I think back to hold on. Like I think back to have you ever seen there's like a T-shirt that you can buy that says I'm not gay, but $20 is $20. And like think about what actors get paid. You're just like, man, like I'll kiss that dude like 20 times. How much are you paying me? Like.
Yeah, fair. Fair. Yeah, you mean you don't literally like $20 is $20. Like I'm not saying that I'd play Bill for $20, but we're talking 30.
Yeah, I mean,
talking 30 and a sandwich.
We're talking
lunch.
$30 and a whole lunch. No, like come on, they're all drama students, man. It's drama students just make out with each other in summer camp all the time. It's just a giant orgy. That's the drama class.
Is that what I missed out on? God, I dropped out of drama. That sucks. They're like, this guy's too dramatic. Get him out of here. You can't play every role. Yeah. So okay. So what I wanted to say was like I really like how the performance kind of obviously at this point you're sad. I think if you're like a normal human being with emotional regulation that happens,
yes,
frequently, and you're not a dissociative type person, and media makes you sad, then this is a thing that made you sad. So at this point, I'm obviously watery-eyed, and Bill's like, no, I don't want to. No, this is this is a bad idea, and he's really, really having to take the news, but also he's not the kind of character to just really show a ton of like vulnerability in that way, and whatever, right? So you kind of see him struggle with that and trying trying to just be a man about it or whatever the heck, right? And grant the what person he loves is the wish that he has, and so you really kind of see that internal struggle, and I really felt the weight of that, right?
Yeah,
but
how hard that was.
But you get this really nice because he says, Frank says, for anyone who doesn't remember, he says, yeah, and then you're gonna crush up all these pills, which I would like to say, I'd like to theorize, a fun little theory of mine. Where would they have got those pills?
From Joel.
Probably from Joel, because he's the one who had the hydromorph supply. Was peddling it to the guard there or whatever. So it would make sense that would be the smugglers, since that's their only friends.
Yep.
That who would have access to those. And I do know what those were because of how they looked. Yeah, you don't need to know any more about that.
Wait, is hydromorph like a thing in real life, or is that like a game?
Hydromorphone. It's
I thought that was a made up thing.
It's morphine. It's morphine, but like hydrolyzed, I guess. I don't know. I don't make it, right? I'm not trying to go to jail here. No, but yeah. So he's got the big bag, and looks like just one of one of Joel's baggies or whatever the heck. So that was kind of my theory too, which is interesting. I kind of thought, I was thinking, oh no, what if he finds them and finds that bag and feels bad and guilts himself about it? I was like, oh no. Right? But that didn't happen. That didn't end up happening. So, but that is my little fan theory about that. And that was really kind of a sad moment. But at the same time, when we have something here in Canada called MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying, which is supposed to be for people who are suffering from conditions that are too severe or whatever. You know what I mean? You have lost sort of the pleasure of life, and you'd like an assisted game end or whatever the heck, right? So that's something that I think is an honorable thing when utilized properly, right? If let's say you burned half yourself in a fire and you can't move anymore, and you're like, I'm tapping out, guys, I'm good. Yeah. I think that's that's maybe the right thing to do, is giving someone that autonomy, right? When they request it. So, but this is your lover. This is the only person that you really know, this is your whole entire life. And, but he says it best that you could argue that out of everyone in this show that we'll probably see, who was living their best life and who isn't, and when it comes down to it, those two definitely had an actual life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They got to enjoy things. They were eating good. They were living good. They got to paint houses and, make the boutique look nice again, pick out clothes for dates. And, they had a couple friends, maybe just the two of them. They invented the dance code, or not the dance code, sorry, the music code for the radio. The 80s means danger, or whatever the heck. I like that, how Frank said that. And I remember I thought Bill was going to survive, because I was like, no, the 80s means danger. That played. So how Bill must still be alive at the end of this. That's how I knew that Bill... What? Sorry,
that reminds me of something that I was supposed to, before you get further, the radio thing. So a friend that I worked on the series with, Piot, he... I think, was it him who talked to Gabriel Luna, the actor that plays Tommy? I guess he was at the Alberta premiere, and he was kind of hanging out with a bunch of everybody there. And Piot said that he saw one of our episodes here and saw that you had mentioned that the actor playing Tommy in this series sounds like, or seems like, it was the voice actor for the game, because it was so convincing and so wonderful. And he said that he apparently the interesting thing is he's not. But the voice actor for Tommy is in the series. And he was the guy sitting across the table from Joel when he was trying to get Tommy's location. When he was trying to say, just tell me where he is, right? That, apparently the dude sitting across the table is the voice actor for Tommy.
That is bizarre. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So wait, did that get brought up to that actor?
I can't remember how or why Piot told me that, but he said that he saw that part in the episode, and he was like, I got to tell you this, because yeah.
He's doing a killer job, and I am excited to see what comes of that, to be honest. I'm excited to see, because that's really, game-wise, that's where it goes next, I think, is they kind of go and try and find, well, actually, no, we'll probably have an episode with some, I don't want to spoil it, but there's probably going to be some banditos, maybe. Some street urchins, if you will.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
We gotta go through the date day. We gotta go through this. We gotta process this, right?
Yeah.
So he wants to go to the boutique. And you know what broke me, man, is when he said at the end, he's like, "We're gonna get married, and then you're gonna kill me," basically.
Oh.
And you're just like, "Oh, this is so sweet!" Like, oh my god.
Which
right?
it sort of
it's
implies
like so miserable.
Sort of implies that he's been resisting doing getting married the whole time. I could see Bill being like I'm not doing that, But then as a dying wish,
it's a government.
Yeah, exactly. And as a dying wish, just
stupid.
Just do this for me,
Yeah,
Very
and then he
sweet.
does all those things, but even the flashback to the strawberry bush or whatever the heck was a nice little thing too, where you saw he thought traded one of our guns to Joel for a pack of C's, and Bill's just like, which gun? He's so mad, like, which gun? I'm like, oh no, is he gonna be an asshole? Because I'm waiting this whole time for Bill to just be a crotchety old man who sucks. And then he's like, one of the little ones. And he says, doesn't matter. Don't worry. and then I want to point out one thing about that scene. Okay, when they reach down to these little tiny strawberry bushes and like pull out a strawberry, I'm like, those are the most store-bought ass berries I've ever seen. Have you ever picked wild berries? They're like this big, dude.
Huge.
They're like this big on a giant bush. The tiny little bush there. You're not gonna get a giant strawberry off that.
Oh yeah.
That's no way. No way.
Oh yeah.
Really? Am I?
Yeah, I think you I think you can get giant strawberries off of your garden for sure.
But they were so small. The little bushes were so small. They were like
off just how small the bushes were. Yes, of course.
That's what I mean, right?
Okay.
Like, you're not going to get a gigantic. Eventually, you will. But the wild bushes usually don't grow that big because trees are in the way or whatnot, right? If you're gardening, for sure, you can get. I mean, obviously, somehow you could make strawberries big. I've seen them. They're real. I promise.
Yes.
It's not fake news. But yeah, when they pulled those out, I was like, "There's no way a bush that big has a strawberry that big already. That's like that thing's like 1/10 the size of the whole bush. What on earth is going on here?" But whatever. I thought that was a mood thing, but I had to bring it up to my partner when I watched it. They were like, "Right?" So I had to make mention of that. But yeah, so they go through all that, and let's go to the dining scene. So this is dining scene number 2, the wine and dine, hence the name, right? The at this point, we could say like whining and dying.
Whining and dying, yeah. This was actually the part that Steven Squiggle was most pissed off with. The part that it seemed like he was pacing the hallways while we were talking. He was just so furious. He's like, Bill wouldn't do that. Bill wouldn't just check out like that. And like, it was a gesture. It was like a romantic gesture in the context of what the entire episode was leading towards. But yeah. And
he made him the same meal. He made him the same meal as when they first met. And he even to the point where he turned the plate in the exact angle. Like that shot was just like so perfect because he I remembered that shot. Like it's something that's so insignificant at first, and then I'm watching it like again in totally different context, and it matters so much more now. Like the fact that I even remembered what orientation the plate was in or the way he had it dressed up. It just shows like the cinematography is like fantastic, right? And so of course that pulls at your heartstrings right there. Like immediately you're just like, oh no, so this is just like how they met, only they're like in love now, and this is how they unmeet as well. And that's like that's such a sad thought, right? And so poetic. Then he, they have their drinks or whatever, and I was thinking when he was drinking the wine the whole time, I was like, what? I'm like, the instructions were to crush it up and put it in the wine. What are you doing? Right? And then he goes and he gets a second bottle of wine. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And then he pours 2 glasses. And then he dumps the hydromorph powder. How many did he buy, by the way? Gee.
Oh yeah, it looked like he crushed like 36 of them into that glass.
That's
and like as he was
like
stirring,
100 of them, dude.
As
Holy
he was
cow,
stirring, and then like the shot went back, and it just looks like red wine. I was like, I'm sorry, that would look like drywall dust at that point. Like,
yeah, it's a paste. You have to suck back this wine and narcotic paste.
It's a good vintage.
Then, yeah, exactly, right? Tastes of chalk and my inevitable doom. And then so then there's that scene where he slams that back, the wine back, and then Bill grabs his and slams his back, and then Frank is like realizes that something's off, and I realized something was off too. I personally just thought Bill was just like, I can't handle this. This is like too
Just
much. I'm
stressed.
just gonna slam. I'm gonna slam back my glass too because I don't, I need to like take a load off here. Like this sucks. This is gonna be so painful. And then he says to him, he's like, so you put some. There's already some pills in the water or in the wine already, isn't there? Right? You put or what was it? Do you remember what he says exactly?
Yeah, he said the bottle already had some in it, or like I can't remember the exact wording.
Something in it. And he says enough to kill a horse. Yeah.
Yeah, like which means he was definitely sitting on a bit of a stash of those.
Yeah. Well, doomsday preppers are gonna doomsday prep. As makes sense. Yeah. So that was a heart wrenching scene, and he was like, "I don't approve of this."
Yeah,
but
it's very romantic.
Objectively, this is so fucking romantic. I was just like, oh, in tears. I was all so sad about it, and he wheels him off to bed, and Buddy's in like narcotic heaven at that point, where he's in his wheelchair and he's just floating. He's on a cloud or something. It's like when you wake up after a surgery and they still got you going. You're just like, woo, So he was riding the cloud, and they took him to the bedroom or whatever, and that is basically how we like finish and wrap up the entirety of Bill's story beyond the note that he leaves. And I just thought that was like a really touching scene, and I actually think that was more impactful than had they handled it the way that the game does. I think at the end of the day, if Bill was he feels less disposable, which is a funny thing to say,
Correct.
Considering he's still alive in the game world as far as we know.
Yeah.
Up until part 2, we don't even, you still don't know. You could still be out there. We just don't know. But due to that, and due to this just sort of doom that kind of follows the guy around, this just like looming miserableness, you get the sense that he probably won't survive. And so he feels disposable in the way that he was, for lack of a better term, just a vehicle to move the story along, right?
Yeah.
To get
plot device.
Plot
device Bill.
Yeah, exactly, right? Plot device Bill. And of course, he sort of ended up being that way, but in the same way, but not because he was not a throwaway character. This is like an hour of our lives we spent getting to know these characters, and then they were disposed of, but in a way that was like, I just think that they took the opportunity to tell a story in this world that isn't just doom and gloom, but it is still sad, and it is still difficult and painful, and it's still very real, right? And I like that they took that opportunity, and I'm actually hoping that they take more of these types of opportunities with the characters that we come to know. Like, when it comes to time to see Sam and whatnot, and his brother, I want to know more about them. I want to know more about where they come from. I wouldn't mind another like hour-long episode or hour and a half, whatever the heck, that sort of gives us the perspective of Ellie and Joel, and then Sam, and then they run into him, right? To sort of give you more context on these characters, because that type of world building isn't something you really can traditionally do in video games without doing what's called an exposure dump, or exposition dump, sorry.
Yeah.
Where you just hit them with a brick of info, and it's just like, it's too much to digest, right? Gamers don't want to sit there and read something for 2 hours straight or whatever the heck, right, to get that full picture, right? That's why you give them little news article clippings and this and that, because their attention span's bouncing around too much of that damn Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah. So like the social media response to this episode has been overwhelmingly weighted towards like how unexpected it was to be like touched so deeply in the like a few episodes into what is a very dark story, and like to have unexpectedly been sort of lifted up a lot by what I guess, like what could be a golden, like beautiful story in the darkest time of human history. And it was nobody saw it coming, which was kind of nice. Like I think the impact of the way the reason that episode, if that's how it happened in the game and they just retold that as it happened in the game and that's how it was, then people would be like, wow, that was really good. But like the fact that everybody was just like, you did what just happened? Like, and nobody was ready for it. It was like, that was some 5-layer or 5D chess.
I think it was a great opportunity for like representation and stuff too. I know that that's like a big talking point, and
yes,
and obviously at this point, like homosexuality should not be like anything that is abnormal. You shouldn't be shocked when you see it. But I'm sure there's people out there, and I did read comments of some people being like, "Oh, it's, this they're making everything woke." I tried to title this episode "Gone Woke" just to clickbait you guys.
That or woke
but I
back
was talked
mountain.
out of it. Yeah, woke. Oh, that was so good. I mean, but again, yeah, we didn't want to send the wrong message, because it's not woke to just be tolerant, or not even tolerant, but accepting of that and like embracing of that. Like it wouldn't have mattered if that was a woman and a man to me. It wouldn't really mattered. I loved it. I loved it so much. I felt so invested in these characters that they just introduce you to. This is something very unique about this show, I suppose, is that we're not even that deep into a series, and like already you're super. Well, I project my feelings, but I'm super invested in these characters. They kind of do the same thing with Tess. You don't really know her too well, but you're like, oh, fuck, she's dead. What? Like, oh wow, oh god, okay, and that hit hard. And then this one, you think you get a little bit of reprieve, and you feel like you've been tricked and jerked around a few times and whatnot, but it's actually going to give you like a Notebook style ending instead. It's like a mixture of like Brokeback Mountain and the Notebook, and there's just like so many like emotions that to feel there. And I think that was an opportunity to show more perspectives of the world after this happens, right? Because the world wouldn't only be a shitty place. I think that's maybe where the game sort of fully deviates from this series, is just that the game doesn't really explore almost anything good besides Ellie. Ellie's like the only thing that is like a positive force for now. For now, everything else is just dark and miserable. It is a miserable experience, a game, but it's like it's impactful in that way, because it's just like it makes you think of like the horrors of humanity, and and what would happen, and try to put yourself into these positions. And it's like a mental exercise to play that game in a lot of ways, and to go through the motions. So it was actually nice to sort of have this different perspective, but it's still like it. What would you call this ending? Tragic?
The ending between
the ending between Bill and Frank. Would you say it's tragic?
It's like the beautiful juxtaposition of tragedy and beauty, and like a life fulfilled. Even though it's like the Romeo and Juliet almost, like, well, not quite the same as that, but like
Romeo and Juliet, but they both knew.
Yeah, they both. it was like holding hand in hand. Like it was honestly, I think that was probably what motivated Bill. Like the fact that he's probably like, right, he knows he's old as dirt as well, and he's like probably got some shit that he knew. Yeah, and he's just like, man, like I probably have another couple years left, and it's gonna be a dark couple of years. Like I'm not interested. Like in a way, he was just like, I'm just gonna leave the building with you. Like,
I'm gonna get high as hell, drink some wine, and we're gonna go to bed and just see where that takes us. And and I thought that was really sweet. And obviously, again, if you didn't cry, you need to get your ducts checked, because they might be clogged. I've heard that's a medical condition sometimes. Because I had like a champion no crier for whatever belt champion holder of the ring on my team when I was watching there. My partner, shout out Chai, and she was crying. We were both crying. It was just silence, like I had my notepad out or whatever ready to write stuff, and I was just like, I'm too busy crying, man. Like I'm just gonna. So if you're wondering why this episode's so like disjointed and disconnected, is because I just couldn't pull myself out of the episode to write stuff down and pause it and this and that. I couldn't be bothered to do that, because I was very highly invested in what was happening, because it was different than what I expected. And I like that. I actually like that. I think that gamers who are pissed that it's different, I think you gotta widen your horizons a little bit, and you gotta kind of think that they have to change some things. Maybe they don't have to, but it's just the way that games work and cinema work are two different thits. The storytelling, like, yes, The Last of Us is a masterclass in cinematic gaming, and I would never disagree with that. I mean, I've got a Firefly tattoo. It's permanent, you know. I got that before the show came out, for the record. Not a bandwagoner. OG over here. And no, and I think that, like, these deviations are building to you know, something, but at the same time, the skeletal structure so far of what makes this such an interesting concept is still totally there, right? And that it's those little rays of humanity that you do get in the game that I think people really like. Like, you know, I'll just mention the giraffe. Like, that's so silly. You know, I'm not gonna, I don't know what happens in the series, but you know, there's a giraffe moment in the game where grown men just cry. And you just cry because it's such an innocent moment in such, like, a dark place. And I think they took that sort of concept and they applied it to other characters as well. So they kept some of Bill's quirky, paranoid schizophrenia, his pepperness, his very stern demeanor and this and that. So they kept him being kind of crotchety, even up to when they're reading the letter that was written, whoever finds this, probably Joel, And I don't like you, but I do respect you. So it's kind of like we're friends almost. Like, it's like that is what video game Bill would write. Like, for sure. That's so he's still, underneath that shell. You still have some of that crotchety Bill in there. It's just that you didn't see that between him and his partner, and that was you maybe a little bit of it, but you got to see him warm up or whatever the heck. So that, I think that's actually nice. I think that's also maybe nice for the viewer, because we've been just kind of beaten down a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll say, like, to this whole thing, it, like, for people who are somehow chapped that it's not the same as the game, I'm gonna just straight up say what they did on episode 3 with Bill and Frank is objectively better in all ways. Yeah. Look at the response. Yeah. Look at how many people were captivated by their story. Look at how many people were heart-wrenched, were in love, in sadness, look at how many people were like dragged through that and came out the other side being like, that's a masterpiece of television. Bill and Frank were not a masterpiece of gaming.
They're not even, no one's talking about them like the giraffe.
Yeah,
there's literally a giraffe that is more important in the Last of Us story.
Bill's
than
a great piece of the Last of Us story. He's interesting and he's whatever he is. He's Bill. He's part of the story. But he was never, and I don't know, I'm not a huge, like, forever diehard Last of Us fan, but for my playthrough, Bill did not have a tenth of the impact as Bill did in the series. And that's why I think when they're making changes like that and they're like, we're going to make these characters mean something valuable, personal, and incredible, like,
and tell different stories. There's so much. Like,
I don't think it's right to cut that down and be like, why did they make their story more important and more touching? Like, he was just a mad person. Like, I don't think that's really the right way to go. Because, like, it's different, but it's better. It's just better.
Yeah.
It's absolutely better.
And to those who are like, oh, the woke agenda, dude, that's like 4 gay characters in this game. Yeah. So I'm not going to spoil who any of them are, but this is not news.
Yeah.
If you actually played the game and paid any attention, you did know there's a lot of undertones of this. It's just that through this medium as well, like, you get the opportunity to tell those stories and have people's attention continue to be there. Like, I feel like I could show this episode to my mother and she would be deeply invested. You know what I mean? Or I could show this to just anyone and they'd be deeply invested. The amount of messages that I received on this episode alone, just asking, like, my thoughts and this and that. And again, I always just say, like, I'm like, just wait for our podcast. You'll get to hear pretty much everything I think about it, or, you know what I mean? Or if you have a question you want me to, like, cover, like, ask me and I'll try and touch on it or whatever, right? I think I had a couple people saying that the relationship was, like, a little rushed, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, but also we have to work within, like, the confines of the time limit of realistic length of TV show. So, I don't know that you go straight from dinner and wine to making out by the piano, but also you don't know, most of you probably don't know what it's like to never have spoken to anyone for 4 years. You probably don't know what that's like.
Let alone it heavily implies that, like, Bill has never ever in his
It's
entire life
repressed or whatever,
had the
I
chance
think.
to connect with someone of the of his chosen sexual orientation. He's always
It was like
had
a
to
coming
hide.
out story too. Yeah.
Because that was a really powerful part of that, I thought.
I mean, the man was dug in. Like, that's the best way I could put it. In every way a possible, like, a character could be, he was dug in his ways. Doomsday prepper, this and that. Probably very certain of how everything needs to be done. And this was someone who came around by, like, total chance. And then for a viewer who, again, hasn't played the game or whatever, you're edgy at first, like, I don't know, I don't trust this guy. This show's got you weary a little bit. And I think that they chose to deliver I don't even know what you would call it, like a completely fair, non-offside, just right hook. You know what I mean? They set you, they faked you out a couple times, and then they just hit you with the right hook, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, out. I let my guard down,
exactly.
because I was guarding my kidneys because I thought I was going to get some horrible suicide cheap shot like the game does for you, right? And when you see that in game, you're just like, oh god, this game's sad. Oh, I don't want to give this note to Bill. I think the game might even give you like an option or something.
Oh, I think it does.
Remember.
I believe it does.
Yeah,
give you
and
the
I
option.
remember I did not give him that, if I recall correctly. I was like, yo, you don't need to read this. Or it's just like, fuck you, Bill. It's all your fault. You suck. So I do get the character has been changed, but for the better.
Yep.
For the better. So if this is what going woke is like, and like tastefully, right? Because I hear reading all this stuff about people saying that, and it's just like,
I personally, I don't like the fact that that people are tying like that word to it, because it's just like, man, if somehow like watching a story of two people like falling in love is like a problem, it's just homophobic. Like, it's just it's not woke. It's just I don't know. I don't get why people get uncomfortable
there are
with
things in media that are forced. There is some, like, let's look at like Velma or something, okay? And the Scooby-Doo corner has begun again.
Oh my god.
I've actually done my homework, and I watched a little bit of Velma because I realized I've talked enough about something I haven't seen, so I had to watch a little bit of it. And there's definitely just like some random forced changes in there that even like the people from that community that it's like supposed to represent were like, this is so ham-fisted.
Yeah.
And there's a way to just fumble something in there because you're trying to what's the word, meander, or no, sorry, pander, where you're pandering. And this is not pandering. This was like a absolutely well directed, well acted, completely like serviceable telling of a story that like we said, like could be told on its own, probably. Like if this was like a series of short films, I would have watched that probably, and I would have thought that was really awesome. And so the only thing I would complain about is like, what is with that strategic positioning, dude? Why are you standing in the middle of the road? What are you doing? There are concrete, there's pieces of concrete you can hide behind. My God,
you think he would have like a pillbox to shoot out of?
You think he would have a bipod or whatever the heck they're called, little stand, and like a rifle out of a window. I don't even think he would leave the house personally, but you know what? That doesn't really matter because this is a love story. All right, it turns out he's more of a lover than a fighter, but also a fighter because he set a bunch of dudes on fire and then electrocuted them. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So then we cut to Joel and Ellie, and they're cruising up on the place. He buzzes himself in, which is a nice touch because it shows sort of like the trust that has been built between them, right? Like Bill wouldn't just give anyone those access codes, and they're not different. They haven't changed. Right. Yeah,
he has access to Bill's estate.
Yeah, exactly. And Bill wouldn't just give that out to anyone. So it means that their relationship developed further than what we saw just with obviously, I can get you stuff, you can give me stuff. So, and the note that Ellie finds, he says, like, it's almost like we're friends.
Yeah,
I don't like you.
There's that one part in there where it's like, he.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he says that because anyone else who didn't have the code would be being electrocuted to death, or whatever. Yeah, and then he goes, oh, and I have to comment on this actually. I threw my clipboard aside when the power went out. I went, whoa. So I don't actually know where that is, but they line for line quote The Last of Us when he says, he said, yeah, I took care of mine, or whatever, right? The person that matters most, the person I can save. Use these supplies or whatever the heck, and make sure that you protect.
Protect
And then
Tess.
she Ellie pauses.
Yeah.
And she's like, ooh, and then he's just like, let me read that. And then he reads it or whatever. And he goes outside for a second. I'm pretty sure because there's like two reasons, I think. One, he doesn't want to believe that this just happened with Bill. Two, I think he like wants to like let it out or cry or
that's
something.
what I thought as well.
And he doesn't want to be vulnerable in front of Ellie in that way.
Yeah.
And so he it's the realization in that moment. I think he walked outside because he's like, I don't believe this. Like, Frank's got to be here. Someone's got to be here. He didn't go to confirm the bodies or anything like that, right? I think he wanted to, for a moment, to just like pretend like that's not real. And then he walked out there and had to think about it. And like, he's like, well, these are the friends that I have, basically.
Yeah.
These were, those are my friends. Tess is my, my lover.
Yeah,
probably.
they're all gone.
They're all gone. There's nothing left. And it's about saving, one person or whatever, right? And that one person that he has right now is the young. Yes, it's Velma. The show sucks. No.
Tune in next week for our breakdown of episode 1 of Velma.
Don't even get me started. I'll do that. All right, I will. No, but it's really nice. And then so what happens is when Ellie asks something about Tess. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he sets some ground rules basically, right? And this is straight out of the game. Like the lines. I wish I don't know where I threw my clipboard. Damn it! But the line was basically she was asking like, so what about Tess? I think she just says about Tess, and then he says, listen, we're gonna establish some rules. Like, you don't talk about Tess ever. It's like we don't bring that up ever again. Right? And he says that in the game. That's like one of the first things he says after she passes or whatever is like, don't ever bring that up. But he's like, I know I'm not talking about loss. I'm not, I'm not showing that vulnerability to you. That's just simply not happening. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even like you. You're just along for the ride. Right? And then he sets this, whatever the second rule is. And if I tell you to do something, you do it. And then I think he said one more thing, but this is a direct quote from the game. As soon as I heard it, like I was reciting it with him, and then he's like, no, now say that back to me, right? Now say it back, right? Tell me what I just said. And then she goes, whatever you say goes.
Yeah.
And that is another like direct quote from the game. And I love that. I loved that they put that in there because because that's like, it was super well worded. Those lines mattered. Those are the pieces to me. Anyways, I know everyone has the right to feel differently, but to me, those are the pieces of the story that do really matter because those interactions define their relationship. And what is this show about? Obviously, it aspires to be more, but what is the show about more so than just the Joel and Ellie's relationship that is budding and growing and changing, and I'm excited to see that maybe they'll elaborate on how, other people and their connections, have led them to where they are, right? We got an example of like what could be considered a paradise in the apocalypse. And, and obviously nothing is permanent, but you can argue those guys lived probably the best life out of anyone we'll probably encounter in this TV show. So, so they got to go out on their own terms and everything too, right? Not ripped apart, not anything, It's sad that disease came, but that's the reality of a post-medicinal world. Like, there's not really a treatment. Yeah,
they definitely got the better end of the stick than most people did, getting burned in a pit with, I'm not even infected. Yeah, whatever. We don't have room for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sure, you're not infected.
Yeah, get in the truck. Get in the truck. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Drive you down the block.
It's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
we should push to wrap this up. It's starting to get pretty long. So.
There's just a lot. There was a lot to digest there, and sorry, my power went out halfway through, so the train of thought went off the tracks for a minute. I think obviously there's a scene. Ellie grabs the gun.
Yeah.
Which I believe is Frank's gun, the little cute one.
The cute one.
That was a cute gun. Don't lie to me, all right? That was a cute gun.
Yeah, Ellie gets her first gun.
She keeps asking for one too, and I love it every episode. She's, I have a free hand. Congratulations. He's just like, no.
Yeah, that was
and
good.
as soon
I
as
love
he
that
goes
line.
down there, she's like, "There's so many on the wall." No.
Nope.
Yeah. So I guess like predictions.
Yeah, so they get Bill's truck.
Yeah.
And
and the battery. I like that he had to build his own battery too.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
And now their next destination is they're going straight towards Tommy. That's the whole reason. Like he explains that at the start of the episode, basically like, look, we're going to find my brother, and he's a firefly. He's a firefly, so like he can find you. This is how we can complete both missions at once.
Yeah.
And how far do they have to go?
Still hoping to just. Isn't it Wyoming?
I know that Wyoming is in this series in some sense. I just don't know when that comes in.
I think, or it's in a dam. It's at a dam.
Okay.
That he resides at. It's Oh, wait a minute. Is it? No, it's not Jackson. Jackson's.
It could be.
Yeah, maybe. It's far. It's reasonably far from where they are.
Oh, I wonder if that is the stuff that was shot out here in Canmore. Is where they go find Tommy.
Maybe.
I'm curious.
Maybe. Do they have a dam in Canmore?
Probably. I don't know. I wasn't on set for those.
It's just like a beaver dam. Yeah, I don't know. That'll work. They'll just CGI, a bunch of turbines, and don't worry about it.
Yeah. So
we got
fourth episode. That's like.
So they're heading to Tommy, but
yeah.
In the game, they don't exactly get to drive the whole way there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you guys, for all you gaming lads out there, I'll just I'll say one quote from the game, and you should instantly click and remember where we're at next, theoretically, and that's, he ain't even hurt.
Yeah, so this is past where I think I've played in the game. We're starting to get into the new storytelling for me. I mean, I remember bits and pieces watching you play on Twitch, but also
I hope we get the magazine scene. Where she steals one of the magazines from Frank, or not Frank. Well, yeah, Frank and Bill's. Because that's actually the big reveal. Like, if you couldn't put two and two together with the subtlety of the game, that was what showed that Bill was a game at, was the fact that Ellie had stolen a magazine, and it was all male magazine. It was like a gay porno mag or whatever. And she's like, look at that! What? It's so big. What is he even doing with all that? And then Joel's like, what the hell? Oh, Ellie, what are you doing with that? Give me that. She's like, well, these pages are all sticky.
Oh,
and he goes, oh, he's like, give me that. She's like, I'm kidding. I'm just fucking with you. And then she chucks it out the window or whatever, and they listen to the cassette tape. And even that was a nice touch, the cassette tape, because that was the same deal with Joel in the truck in the game, where he's just like, you never heard this?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've never heard this. Okay. Yeah. It's so funny. He's like, don't mess with that. Don't mess with that. She puts it in. He's like, no, hold on. This shit rips.
This shit rips? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like parked there for a minute. He's like, you seriously never heard this?
Such a dad thing to say.
Yeah.
You don't know this song? This song from like 30 years before I was born? No.
Right? So that, I think, beautiful story. A cool interlude into sort of where Joel and Ellie go. And I think that this is a healthy way to continue the momentum and also to drum up some excitement for the series. I think this is probably one of the high points of the show so far. And I think that they have a few opportunities now I think there's two opportunities here to strike even harder than they have here and really hit you in the feelings. If not, maybe one more. And that's obviously just the first game. So, and actually it has been announced that the season 2 is coinciding with part 2 of The Last of Us. So, our predictions of what happens in season 1, we can throw those out the window, because chances are season 1 I imagine they blend the two together a little bit better, a little more seamlessly. But Neil Druckmann confirmed that the next season was going to be Last of Us Part 2. So
Yeah, but I think I don't know. Like, there's no way they can fit the entire second game into one season. I imagine they're going to split it.
No,
because the second game is like split between Ellie and Abby. So I imagine it makes sense to like do Ellie's portion as season 2 and then get into Abby's portion in season 3. Which I think
they should do it differently. I think they, instead of doing it the game way of doing the whole boom block of this, a whole boom block of that, I think that they should just do what they've been doing and interweave time sections and whatever the heck, right? Show what went on, overlapping, right? Because this is something you can do in cinema that you can't necessarily do in game, right? It was cool to play both sides, but I kind of hope that they slowly weave that together, coming off of what will probably be the end of season 1, which I won't spoil anything because that's there's a lot. There's going to be a lot, and if they change anything about that, I will be pissed. That's the truth.
Oh, I'm sure
they'll
work some magic.
I'm sure they'll do something, right? But like, if they fundamentally change any of that, I will be grumpy. I gotta be honest. I'll be grumpy about it. I will be the Steve who is complaining.
Yes, we end on Steve's complaining.
Yes,
we appreciate. I guess, is that where we want to end it?
Yeah. No, I feel great about it. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening this far. All you Spotify listeners, hopefully you like our voices, because I guess today we kind of carried it with just talking, so you lucked out on this episode. But there is some cool imagery. We have some cool on-set stuff that may be even worth checking out just in your spare time if you get a chance just to kind of look at it, because the behind-the-scenes stuff is super interesting. It's coming right off of having seen the show, and then getting to actually see, literally the backside of some of the props and sets. Yeah, propped up and this and that. It's actually quite interesting, and I found that I like that I get the breakdown from you, episode by episode, and whereas you have to sort of you have to just have this breadth and wealth of knowledge and just experience the show and not try and let that take away from it, right? So you have to put in more effort to just immerse yourself, whereas I'm just all in it, and then you disassemble it for me, and I'm just like, what? So that's why I love doing this podcast so much, because I get to learn these little things about it, and the step stalker hole. I love that. The little crawl spot. help me, step stalker. Help me,
step stalker. Yeah, I guess I didn't really get to talk about Bill's house. I forgot about that. We were kind of just going on about like that piano that they're playing. That's, I guess, just to end off the episode, the piano that is in that little room is like a mini grand piano or baby grand, and they had to bring that piano in as like a last minute piece to put in there because it was going to actually be played by the actors, and it was featured as an important piece of the scene. And basically, when that piano was in there, it was like the set was like, nobody's coming into this set because that piano's worth like $250,000 or something.
To quote Frank, do you know how much one of these is worth? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. No, that was a real life, very expensive piano, and it was like a danger thing in the set. It was like, you're not allowed in there.
Oh my God!
Actually,
I guess
the funny thing is the mantle,
framing bros.
The mantle that was on the wall. We built those mantles or whatever. I didn't build the mantle, but I had to install it, and I had to install it when that piano was in the room. So I was like very careful.
They must have trusted you. Yeah. Holy cow!
Yes, I did get let in.
They put caveman framer Steve in there, that whole piano's been thrown over my shoulder by accident, and I'm gonna fall down the stairs with it. So yeah, it's a good thing they brought in the experts. Yeah. So again, guys, engagement is everything. If you like the show, throw a subscription, or whatever the heck it's called. Follow us, like, subscribe. We're on Spotify. You got time, you're on the go. We're there. We're on Apple Music. We're everywhere. So hopefully you're enjoying this. Throw a comment if you have any criticisms, any compliments, any thoughts on the show, things you thought we didn't touch on that maybe we could touch on next episode. All that stuff matters a lot. We're a new channel, and our numbers have actually been really nice. So I just want to say thanks for all the support so far. The local community has been super accepting, and I don't know, to have texts from all of you guys and messages and stuff, people asking when it's coming out and this and that, and needing a decompression session. really makes my day. So if it makes your day too, I think we're happy to be doing this.
Yeah.
So, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Seductro.
Yeah, you can find, I guess, I don't know, look me up on Facebook. Probably don't.
Probably. Yeah, maybe don't put that out there in case this does blow up, That's, we said our names enough that people could find us, but
yeah. Message us here on the YouTube, the podcast of us.
Yeah, we have a Gmail. You can email us. That works too. We will respond to you. So yeah, and with that, if you want any debauchery, come check it out. And actually, I'll do a quick shout out to Netherwolf, one of my streamer friends.
Oh yeah,
very friendly guy. Very friendly guy. Sent me this mug because I won a what the heck's that called? Trivia night. Just hammered out of my mind. I won trivia night because I'm a gambler, because I bet all the time, right? I always bet all my team's points at the last one, and I get it right every time. It's just all luck. And I just want to shout him out for he's a big supporter of my streams. So he's pumped. He gasses me up, gets me to do things like this. So big ups to you, Eric. And tune in next week when we've got another episode to break down and maybe a little bit more tears. See ya.
Hopefully a little less tears, but yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Crying is healthy.